Somewhere deep in the Ozark woods lurks the two people everyone tries to avoid the most. If you're not careful, they may find you before you find them. All right, we're recording. Good morning. Yep, it's still morning. It's 11:21, December 22nd, 2021. Uh, Grandma's still in there sleeping. We didn't go to bed again until, this morning, 7, 6. Yeah, because I heard the kids getting up, going to work. So it was 6:37. We were in bed, so she's still sleeping. I'm going to let her sleep a couple more hours unless she wakes up on her own. Colder than a witch's titty and a brass brazier outside. Cold last night. Ooh, man, it was cold. But we made it through it. Right now, and we got a hold of Amazon for those who are keeping track, and they're supposed to be replacing the memory sticks for the computer that got lost in the mail. We got an empty package. Hold on. We got package arrived from Amazon. There was nothing in it. Totally empty. Top had been somehow top got opened up. Empty package. So 16 gigs of memory sticks are going to be here hopefully Thursday, tomorrow. Is today Wednesday? Yep, tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow. I'll be putting memory in, and then we can start editing these long videos without having as much problem as we're having. And then we can start posting some of the longer stuff. Other than that, I don't think I got a whole lot to update. Christmas is coming. I don't think we'll get much snow, but we're getting frosty mornings. Lori Lightfoot begs Biden to send help for her out-of-control city. Black conservative perspective. Now, I lived in Milwaukee in the 70s. That's where I went to high school. That's where I met my kids' mama. And I went to Chicago a few times. Was not impressed. Not impressed at all. The Chicago of the 70s, did not care for it. And then Lana and I went to Chicago. I think Allison had a basketball tournament or something, or basketball game. I think it was a tournament or something in Chicago. So we went to Chicago for that. And we actually saw road rage on the freeway. We were going up through a toll booth. I believe it was a toll booth. And some guy in this great, big, huge tuna boat, Lincoln Cadillac or something, got pissed off. And this was a fairly new car. This was a fairly new car. This would have been 2005 or 6, somewhere around in there, somewhere around 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. But anyway, the Cadillac, Lincoln, whatever it was, wanted to get over, and we're in tight traffic too, and the people weren't letting him over, so he just cranked that stupid steering wheel over and smashed right inside of the car, gunned it, crash, I mean, just looked like demolition derby. I go, Jesus Christ. Fuck. We got off the highway, and it was actually faster to drive through town than it was to get on the highway to go around Chicago. That place was crazy. So from the 70s to the 2000s, that 30-some, it didn't get any better. It was still, I was not a bit impressed with it. No wonder these people are insane. But anyway, and then another thing that just is really, I remember Trump offering to send help to this city a couple years back, and no, we don't need it. We're good. We don't need your help. Thanks, but no thanks. Now they're begging for it. Stupid, ignorant people. Play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
All right, guys. So on this episode of why progressive criminal justice reform is the biggest threat to our country that we have, we have Miss Lori Lightfoot, Chicago's mayor, who a few months ago swore up and down at a news press conference that crime was going down and that it wasn't a problem, that she had it under control.
Chaos everywhere. And the fact of the matter is, sir, which you also didn't point out, but I will, so we get this straight, is that we're actually seeing a decline in homicides and shootings. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I know I've said something to Grandma. Back in the 80s, 1980s, there was a TV series called V, where there were aliens invaded the earth, took over the earth, and they were lizard people that had human costumes. They look, of course, the actors were, human actor, but then they would show them in a lizards. But anyway, they were supposed to be lizards who disguised themselves as humans and mixed amongst the people. And there was always certain ways you could tell them apart. Anyway, I don't remember the whole thing, but she, I'm sorry. This woman right here looks like one of those lizard people from that movie V. I'm sorry. If it sounds like I'm a hater, I'm sorry. Then I'm hating on it. But she looks like one of those fucking lizard people from that TV series. I'm going to have to try to find that and post something. Let me see if I can, hold on. I'm going to pause this, see if I can find something. Where's my little thingy? Hold on. Okay, I'm back. I couldn't find what I wanted to do. My internet, half the people are home, I guess. The internet's running too slow. I couldn't pull anything up. Anyway, I'll have to look. Anyway, the lizard people, they tried to take over the government and everything, and they're going to take over the planet. But she just really looks like one of those lizard people to me. I'm sorry. If you say I'm a hater, I'm a hater.
Sir, we are done.
Sir. Okay.
That's my question. We're done.
No. Let him ask his follow-up question so he doesn't claim that somehow we're being biased and slighting the guy from Newsmax. Please, sir, it's 6:30 going on 7. Ask your follow-up question.
Oh, talk about condescending. Oh, bitch.
Residents in Chicago feel that you've lost control of the city. Now it appears as though you've lost control of the Chicago City Council. Do you owe an apology to the victims of violent crime, the thousands of unsolved shootings and murders and stabbings and random stabbings in the downtown and the south side and the north side and the west side? Do you owe these people any apology?
So once again, sir, I ask you to get your facts right. Crime is not out of control in our city. In fact, crime is on the decline. All of our major indices showed a decline in crime, and our homicides and our shootings year over year are down. That's a fact, sir.
That's a fact. What? Not according to this chart.
It's so bullshit.
Because Chicago's homicides, right, are the highest that they've been since the 90s. Okay? In fact, Lori Lightfoot took office in 2019, where they have 533 homicides. Ever since she's been in office, homicides have increased exponentially. In 2020, going up to 803, and in 2021, 812, right? According to this news source, okay? So, I mean, progressives, once again, they love claiming that they're the owners of facts, but yet they're always wrong on the facts. They're always wrong on the facts. It's kind of funny how that works.
Well, you don't use their facts.
Yeah. despite being wrong on the facts. You know, it gotta make sense on why Chicago's violence is out of control. When the mayor can't even acknowledge that there's an issue, right? She can't even get the basic facts straight. She really believed that homicides were going down, okay, that violent crime was decreasing in her city, even though it objectively wasn't. Yeah, you got a problem, right? You have an incompetence problem. And I think it's clear that Miss Lori Lightfoot is probably one of the most incompetent mayors in this country. Okay, she said that back in June. When even back in June, it was clear that Chicago was having a homicide problem, right? That she denied. But sometimes it gets so bad and the facts speak so loudly that you can't deny it anymore. And then all of a sudden you have to come out and acknowledge reality, which is what's happening now.
They should be locked up, pending trial, because they are demonstrated, quote unquote, real and present threat to the physical safety of people.
Today, Mayor Lori Lightfoot demanded Cook County judges cease the pretrial release of defendants charged with murder, rape, or other very violent crimes.
She says that people on electronic monitoring are still committing more crimes. Our political editor.
No shit. Oh, man.
Her staff called a major address on violence. Mayor Lightfoot once again blasted Cook County judges for releasing on electronic monitoring about 2,300 defendants accused of crimes such as carjacking and murder.
In 2021 alone, for example, well over 50 people have been arrested for shooting or murder, all while on electronic monitoring.
Actually, 60 such defendants have now been rearrested for new violent crimes, and considering how few arrests have actually been made in connection to Chicago's 4,400 shootings this year, the odds are high that others have gunned down victims and simply gotten away with it.
Right now, today, there are simply too many violent people walking our streets and wreaking havoc in our neighborhoods.
And too many stupid people running our cities and our states. Jesus, come on, people. You cannot. How can you be this fucking ignorant and still have brain cells enough to keep breathing? I don't understand it. I really don't.
The mayor appears to be preparing for a re-election campaign sure to focus, at least in part, on her failure to deliver on a promise to reduce Chicago violence. Early voting begins in just about 12 and a half months. I'm political editor Mike Flannery.
So yeah, just like San Francisco Mayor London Breed, Miss Lori Lightfoot is all of a sudden getting tough on crime and calling BS on progressive criminal justice reform policies, because that's what she's talking about. When she's talking about the whole ankle monitoring thing, right, and how they're releasing people back into the streets with these monitors, but yet they're still out here committing these violent crimes after committing violent crimes beforehand. Yeah, she's talking about progressive criminal justice reform policy. She's talking about low bail, right, catch and release, which again, people like her low-key was supporting all last year, right? Mm-hmm. They were supporting it.
Oh,
they
yeah.
was cool with it. But now once they realize that doesn't work, right? Like everybody was trying to tell them, you just can't be releasing violent people back into the street, people that have proven to be violent. Yeah, all of a sudden they realize.
And remember, Chicago, this is Obama country. This is where Obama's from. This is the epitome of his policies and where it would lead this country. If Obama's policies were allowed to run rampant through this country, well, now Biden's, but it all started with Obama. If it would be allowed to run rampant through this country, this whole country would look like Chicago. Oh, Jesus.
Wow, this is not good, right? It's not good. Okay? So now all of a sudden, and this is not all of a sudden because she's done this before, she's asking the federal government for help fighting the city's crime. She's getting on her hands and knees, begging Biden and Kamala for help. Now, if you guys remember last year, Trump offered to help Chicago, right, by sending federal agents to the city to help crack down on crime. Lori Lightfoot said no. Instead, she wanted money and resources for the community. Right? That's what she wanted. She didn't want to crack down on the crime. She didn't want the staff and the manpower to actually get the thugs and criminals off the streets. She didn't want that. She wanted money from the federal government, right? For them to just waste on, I don't know, diversity and inclusion, right? But, yeah. So she rejects Trump's help, even though Trump sent help anyways through Operation Legend, I believe, in which they say the Department of Justice.
I bet you if you did some research, you'd probably find out that Al Capone ran Chicago better than this woman does. There was probably less violent crime in Chicago with the gangsters running around with Tommy guns than there is in Chicago today.
Says that that helped reduce violent crime and homicides in Chicago, but Lori Lightfoot, in my opinion, wasn't really all that appreciative of that, right? As she came out and basically said, I don't really think that helped reduce violence like that. Violence was already going down before that. Earlier this year, she actually asked for Biden's help. I think Biden offered like a strike force or something like that, right? Something similar to what Trump was offering. And all of a sudden, she was cool with that. She was cool with that. Which goes to show you that a lot of these politicians, guys, they don't mind playing politics with people's lives, right? Because, again, what is the difference between Trump and Biden? They both basically offer the same thing. The only difference is that she didn't want the help from Trump because she doesn't like Trump. Trump bad. Orange man bad. His federal agents would have been dangerous. But Biden's federal agents, though, not dangerous, according to her. And now she's back to Biden asking for more help. And low-key, I kind of don't blame her for asking Biden and Kamala for help because who knows better about locking up black folks and then Biden and Kamala, right? Prosecutor Kamala and Crime Bill Joe, right? If you need an expert on locking up black folks, they're the two people you should ask. So, hey, if Biden can channel his inner Crime Bill Joe, that might actually save his presence. Now, you know, in all honesty here, I do have some issues with Crime Bill Joe. Or should I say Drug Bill Joe? Let me be more accurate here. People complain about the crime bill, but the things they complain about when it comes to the crime bill actually are not with the crime bill. The 90s crime bill, it was actually with the drug bills that Joe Biden sponsored and helped pass back in the 80s, in particular when it comes to giving out harsh sentences for nonviolent drug offenders. But hey, when it comes to the 90s crime bill, in my opinion, it worked. The 90s crime bill actually worked. It helped reduce a lot of crime and violence across this country. It just did, right? For as much as people criticize it, listen, being tough on crime, particularly violent crime, it works. Right, it just does. And there may be some negative externalities that I don't necessarily like, right? And that, you know, I definitely get on Joe Biden about, okay? But hey, you know, I would rather live in a safe country than a country that's being ran by criminals. And when it comes to those who are proven to be violent, I mean, I'm all about throwing a book at those people, right? I'm all about locking them up for as long as possible and throwing away the key, right? I'm all about it, okay? I'm all about it. But that is not what Chicago is doing, right? They're not handling violent people like that. So let's read here. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is calling on the federal government for help in combating crime and violence in the Windy City. In a news conference Monday, the Democrat mayor asked U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland to send in agents from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives for 6 months to ramp up the number of gun investigations and gun seizures, according to Fox 32 Chicago. She also asked for more federal prosecutors to handle the criminal cases those agents will investigate, as well as federal marshals to assist local law enforcement with tracking down thousands of suspects wanted on warrants, the station added. Quote, we need these additional resources well in advance of summer, Lightfoot reportedly said. Because you know it gets hot in Chicago during the summertime. It ain't talking about the weather, right? So let's read a little bit more here. The plea comes as the number of shooting victims in Chicago this year as of this past Sunday was at 4,270 compared to 3,930 in 2020, the Chicago Tribune reported, citing police statistics. Homicides have risen to 783, up from the 749 recorded during the same time period in 2020. The newspaper also said, quote, keep you safe is my priority. Not one of, but the first and primary priority, the Tribune quoted Lightfoot as saying, I wake up every morning with this as my first concern, and I push myself and all involved to step up and do more and better because we cannot continue to endure the level of violence that we are now experiencing. All right, so what is the real problem? What is the real issue here? Well, again, I mean, it's very simple. It's progressive criminal justice reform, right? Letting violent people who are proven to be violent out of prison, right? Letting them out on the streets on low bail. Okay, things like that, right? Having them be arrested and let back into the streets. Okay, that is what's happening, and that again, has negative consequences all across the country. And again, it's happening in Chicago, like Lori Lightfoot was mentioning. So let's read about this story. Dozens of felons who were released on bond in Chicago have been rearrested this year for violent crimes, according to a local report. As of Saturday, at least 60 felons were accused of murder, attempted murder, or shootings while awaiting trial for a previous felony. CWB Chicago reported with the number of victims from these crimes adding up to at least 92, right? Wow, 92 victims, because 60 felons were released, okay, out into the streets, right? And they basically tried to murder people, right? Tried to take people's lives. Went back to their life of crime and thuggery. Okay, I mean, this stuff is should not be that surprising to people. That is what happens when you release people like this back into the streets. The latest felon was identified as Malik Perteek, 22, who appeared in bond court last week. Police said Perteek was arrested Wednesday after shooting a 17-year-old girl in the 12,500 block of Lowe Avenue earlier this month. Perteek allegedly tried to kill the girl during a marijuana sale on December 5th. At the time of the shooting, he was on bail and wearing an electronic monitoring device for a separate gun case and a separate drug case, the outlet reported. During a shootout with another man in March, the station reported that Perteek was wounded and an 11-year-old girl died from injuries she suffered after being struck by a bullet the other man fired. Okay, so this man was in a shootout, right? A shootout in the middle of Chicago, probably some gang stuff. Okay, probably some buffoonery going on, right? Some thuggery, right? And they went soft on the guy, right? They went soft on him. Okay, again, proven violent criminal, right? And then he commits another crime. Okay, let's read here. Perteek was charged with felony gun possession and released on $7,500 bail and electronic monitoring, the outlet reported. When he was charged 2 months later with manufacture and delivery of narcotics, a violation of his bond, the report said that he was released without additional bail. Again, so this guy, proven to be violent, right? Then violates his bond, okay, because he wanted to sell drugs, right, to be a drug dealer. And again, they just release him back into the streets when this dude obviously has no respect for the rule of law. He has no respect for the terms of his initial release, in which he was committing a violent act, right? Again, this is the type of stuff that it makes no sense whatsoever, right? Makes no sense. Perteek now faces charges of first-degree murder and aggravated battery for discharging a firearm in connection to shooting of the 17-year-old. Jail records show that Perteek was ordered held without bond following this latest incident. Okay, so yeah, after all this, he basically tries to murder a 17-year-old girl, allegedly, doing a drug deal. Okay, so this guy, again, was known to be violent, right? Proven to be violent. And then he was involved in drugs, okay? The legal sale of drugs and manufacture of drugs. And they kept letting him out of prison, right? Letting him back on the street. Then all of a sudden, he tried to kill a 17-year-old girl. Again, it's stuff like this that is just unacceptable. That is happening all over this country that, you know, again, in my opinion, it's kind of the fault of these progressive prosecutors, these mayors, these politicians that are for this stuff, right? That spent all last year with this woke rhetoric, okay, about defund the police, how the criminal justice system is evil, right? How it's racist against black folks. And then all of a sudden you see the results of this so-called reform that these people are trying to implement. You have violence go up. You have criminals running the cities now, right? That's what happens, right? Because again, they're being soft on people who are known violent offenders, okay? They're being soft on them because of systemic racism, right? That's what it is. Again, it's nuts. So, you know, like I said, man, I just find it ironic here that Mayor Lightfoot is getting on her hands and knees begging Biden for help after Trump tried to help her last year, and she refused help from Trump. When, you know, I'm pretty sure Trump could have helped her solve the problem. But again, these politicians have no issues putting people's lives in danger over politics, right? That they have no issues with it. And Lori Lightfoot, just for that, in my opinion, that alone, I don't see how anybody in Chicago would vote for her again, because she's obviously, you know, not qualified for this job. This is obviously above her head. She has no clue what she's doing. She couldn't even acknowledge that there was actually a homicide problem just a few months ago during the summer, right? When it was really out of control. So again, with that being said, I feel like she's at fault for a whole lot of this stuff, and she got to be voted out, man, along with all these other progressive mayors and prosecutors around the country, period. So let me know what you guys think.
Yep, I agree with them 100%. It's their fault, at least a large portion of it. Not all of it, no. It's not all their fault, but a majority of it is, and their policies just keep perpetuating it. All right, anyway, we're going to end this one up. I'm going to go check on Grandma. I think I've heard her. I'm not quite sure. Hope everything's going all right, and love you all, and we will talk to you later. And remember, enjoy how bad it is now, because it'll be worse tomorrow. Love you.